Welcome back to Talking Fitchburg, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day out there. So we're going to turn our attention to the West Nile virus. As we told you in the last segment that the first confirmed case of West Nile tested positive in a bird here in Dane County. So I thought it would be a good time to kind of break it down, what West Nile is. We're kind of in a prime season now of the mosquitoes, and especially with all the rain we've had too. And some parts had some flooding last week, so they're probably got a little bit more mosquito action out there. So let's kind of break this down, Andrew, on West Nile.
Let's do it.
What we've got here. So an estimated 80% of people are infected with West Nile virus that never experience symptoms. 80%.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That is.
Most of the remaining 20% will experience relatively mild illness with symptoms such as fever, headache, muscle pains, or skin rash, swollen lymph nodes, and phobia. I don't know what that phobia would be for a symptom. Less than 1% of the population, approximately one out of every 150 people affected with the West Nile virus will become seriously ill. And that we'll actually talk about in the package here coming up in just a second. But, severe symptoms include sudden onset of high fever, neck stiffness, extreme muscle weakness, tremors, convulsions, and discoloration. So if you got any of those things that pop up out of the blue, obviously you should go get checked out because you didn't know if that was a cold or West Nile or something else. So,
right.
So we had a chance to actually sit down, and it's an epidemiologist. If that's how you pronounce it. It is in the script. You and I will discuss this in the middle. But a person named Zip, we had a chance to sit down from the Wisconsin Department of Health, and she helped us break this down on what West Nile is and how it spreads. Take a look.
West Nile have been in Wisconsin since 2001, and you can get West Nile virus anywhere in Wisconsin. We do have a really good active surveillance for West Nile virus in human. We collect information year-round so that we can understand the risk and the trend. The elderly, that is the population that is very at risk for getting the severe illness of West Nile virus. About 80% may be infected with West Nile virus and never have symptoms. 20% will have symptoms anywhere from very, fever, headache, very mild symptoms to more serious like meningitis, encephalitis, paralysis, and coma, and that leads to death. But that's usually about less than 1% of the population, and it tends to occur, there's a high risk in the elderly as well as people that are immunocompromised, and then children, because maybe their immune system hasn't, fully developed, like the infants can be high risk for some of the more severe diseases, especially in lacrosse encephalitis for children. So because it is a virus, we really don't have any medication. We don't have any antiviral for any of these arboviral diseases. And that can be concerning because if you end up having this more severe illness, it's just all supportive. You have to stay in the hospital and they just do supportive treatment. There is no vaccination for any of these diseases, and so your body have to be able to fight it off. But the one thing that is nice is that once you have the virus, you're infected with it, your body produces the antibody that help fight it off, and then this memory of having this antibody to specific pathogens will protect you from getting it again for life. So in 2012, we saw 57 cases of West Nile virus, and that was the hottest year and the driest year we've had in a long time. People, when we did interviewing and follow-up, when we talked to people, they felt that they didn't see any nuisance mosquitoes around, so they felt they were safe and they didn't have to use insect repellents. So I think it might have affected the way the behavior and not taking precaution. But the other aspect is that people didn't know that these mosquitoes can actually thrive and breed in not a lot of water. And so it was kind of selecting for these more hardier species of mosquito. And so we saw the highest number of cases compared to the first year, which was 52 cases. And that was the same, if you look at the national numbers posted by CDC, you see the huge increase in, a lot of the other states as well.
So there you go. That's kind of the overview of West Nile. So now we need to talk about the prevention part. So we've kind of set it up with what it is, the effects that it can have. But now we need to figure out, how can we prevent this from happening? So here's Zip with that information.
There are differences in the type of mosquitoes, so people should be aware that the Culex species tend to be more active dawn and dusk. They're nighttime biters, and then the other type, the Aedes albopictus that we're worried about, tend to be more daytime biters, and so that changes the way we do mosquito surveillance. But both of them, they can really survive really well and breed in very small amount of water, stagnant water. So people should think about not growing mosquito around their home. So empty out your bird baths every 2 to 3 days. These mosquitoes don't need a lot of water to be able to breed. And you want to make sure you don't leave, toys and pots and empty pools sitting around that can collect rainwater. Clean out your gutters so that it's not clogging up and building that pool of water. Make sure your window screens don't have holes. And I think one of the things that they think might save the U.S. and not see the huge outbreak like in other countries is that we have air conditioning. So that factor kind of prevent us from being exposed to mosquitoes coming indoors.
There you go. So now we need to take a look at some of the other tips. So let's review some of the tips that Zip talked about here and check this out for protecting yourself from West Nile, the virus here. So use effective mosquito repellent and apply accordingly to the label as instructed. Wear long sleeve shirts, long pants, socks, and shoes if you're going in, maybe going out at night during the dusk or dawn time frames. Mosquitoes may bite through clothing though, so spray that clothing with a repellent containing permitted, or is that permethrin or DEET, which would give you the extra protection. These repellents are the most effective and most studied. Avoid being outside during the times. We kind of said that before, especially during the dusk and dawn, or protect yourself in a different way. Checking those window screens and keeping those repaired so mosquitoes can't enter into your home. I think that's a big one.
Yes.
My dog wrecked my screen recently, so there you go.
Of course.
Just walked right through the door.
Yep.
Dispose of discarded tires, cans, plastic containers that are left outside that may collect and have standing water in it. So taking those simple steps, you can avoid breeding grounds for the mosquitoes. Keep window screens repaired. We kind of said that already. We already got all these. Drain the water from a pool or hot tub covers. Turn over plastic wading pools. Oh, those are the little kiddie pools, right?
Yep. We have 2 of those in our yard right now.
Yeah, so I guess turn them over, keep them covered, right? And wheelbarrows, same thing. Keep those turned over if you can. And last but not least, change the water in your bird baths when you can. Same with pet dishes and, again, those wading pools every 3 to 4 days. Keep drains, ditches, culverts clear of trash and weeds so the water can drain properly. And clean your gutters to ensure that they drain properly and, again, are not a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So there you go. A lot of great tips. If you want to find out more information about the West Nile virus, we pulled all of this data off the CDC and the Wisconsin Department of Health. You can just search West Nile, and there's a whole bunch of resources in there for you. So check it out either way. But good information to get out there, and we'll get this posted up online later this morning. All right, we need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. And we're going to check in on that concert at McKee last night. Listen in to the Dead Horses. Stay tuned. It's Talking Fitchburg.